Happy Monday, all you minties. This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, and join me today for an advanced look at the Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 2 from Marvel Comics. So, please stay tuned. And welcome back, everybody. Now, before I get started, a huge thank you to David Gabriel and the folks at Marvel for sending us an advanced copy of this omnibus. This omnibus is due out in the direct market on January 27th, and then a couple of weeks later in the book market. Now, what we are looking at right here is your standard edition cover. On the left-hand side, that is your direct market cover, the original cover to issue 39. And I do find it interesting that everything is redrawn by Humberto Ramos on the standard edition cover, with the exception of the Spider-Man face on the top left-hand side. I thought that was pretty interesting that for some reason that wasn't redrawn. Let's go ahead and do a comparison to the original omnibus printing. So on the left-hand side, we have my original printing, and then on the right is the new printing. By the way, this new printing is the third printing of this book. It's had a previous reprint, and this is the second reprint, so it is the third printing of this particular omnibus. And yes, I did get the standard edition cover for my copy years ago, because I figured the original cover is going to be on the inside, but I understand there's a lot of purists out there that love to have the original covers on their Omnis. Now, nothing different in the front, and here's what the spines look like. The original omnibus, just a little bit thicker than the new printing. And then the backs, you get a bigger picture of the covers in the back of the new printing, as well as a different font up at the top, beginning a great new era in the ever-changing life of the world's most amazing web spinner. And then they shifted the font from the bottom to the bottom right-hand side in the new printing, as far as what's being collected in here. Now we'll look at it under the dust jacket. The original printing having this fake leather look to it. This is really what you find under the Marvel Masterworks dust jackets these days. They still use this for their Masterworks line. And then the new printing, of course, just being the words on the actual board, nothing on the back. Now, let's take a look inside of this new omnibus, and then we'll do a comparison with the pages. Okay, so here we go. We have black bookend pages. I think the original one had some kind of fancy marble-like stone finish to it. Here's the Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 2, and the people behind the book, the creators behind the stories in here. And then you also get a table of contents right here. And then an introduction. Now there's 3 different introductions, each one done before a masterwork. So this pretty much collects 3 different masterworks and pretty much puts them together into one oversized hardcover. Or omnibus, rather. So your first introduction is by Stan Lee, and the next 2 introductions are by the artist John Romita Sr. And of course, most people probably know his son, John Romita Jr., who went on to draw comics as well, including The Amazing Spider-Man. Not once, not twice, but I believe 3 runs is what he ended up doing. So we kick it off with issue 39 of Amazing Spider-Man, which is what they're using for the cover, where both characters are unmasked, and here you find out who knows whose identity and what that means for the other character. This is the Green Goblin, his biggest arch nemesis, and Spider-Man. Now, this collects Amazing Spider-Man 39 through 67, Annuals 3 through 5, and then Spectacular Spider-Man 1 and 2. The book has 992 pages and retails for $125. Now, Spectacular Spider-Man 1 and 2, they are not the ongoing comic book series. They were a magazine, a short-lived magazine, that were geared more towards the adults. But sadly, it was canceled after 2 issues. And actually, John Romita, I believe, explains, because I remember reading this a couple times, my original omnibus, how he explains exactly what happened, why it got canceled, and how heartbroken they were that it got canceled after 2 issues. Here we have the first appearance of the Shocker. We also have the first appearance of Mary Jane Watson. Now, that's first full appearance, right? Back here in issue 42. The classic, face it, Tiger, you just hit the jackpot. Now, I say first full appearance because she previously made a cameo in issue 25. There was like a flower that was blocking her face. So she doesn't make a full appearance until this volume here. And then she becomes part of the Peter Parker gang. We also have returning villains like Dr. Octopus. Adrian Toomes returns, the original Vulture. And then there's a new Vulture that steals his outfit, Blackie Drago. And then we have Kraven the Hunter make a return, as well as the Green Goblin. Doc Ock makes a return. And then we get another first appearance of a major character. And that is in this classic issue right here, which is Spider-Man No More. This one has been used in the movies, in the animated series. But the character that makes the first appearance here is the Kingpin, who I'm sure a lot of people think is the Daredevil villain, right? The Daredevil's biggest arch nemesis. Well, this is where he first appeared. He started off as a Spider-Man villain. And this is also the classic issue where Spider-Man, or rather Peter Parker, decides to give up being Spider-Man just because he can't balance that life. All his friends are out having fun. He's missing dates with Mary Jane or Gwen Stacy. And he just can't balance this life. He doesn't have any money, so he gives it up. And it's a great story. It's a classic story for a reason. There's a lot of classic stories in here, honestly. But let's keep going and looking at this artwork. Most of this stuff is supplied by John Romita Sr., Larry Lieber, Mary Severin, and, of course, Don Heck. Now, Don Heck... Here, let me show you exactly what I mean. Don Heck acted more like a finisher than an inker. So, John Romita would lay out the pages, lay out the storyline, and lay out the pictures. Don Heck would come in and add details, so finish pencils. And then there was an inker that finished off the story. So there were 3 different artists working on a book sometimes. And that was because John Romita had just gotten busy. He was drawing other things. He was also mentoring new young artists. And he actually talks about it in these intros. There's the Kingpin right there. I love these stories in here because it showcases a different kind of superhero story. Like Spider-Man, all his friends, or Peter Parker, they're all out having fun. They're all being college students. He's trying to move into his new apartment, trying to move out of Aunt May's house. And it's just dealing with everyday life while he's out there being a superhero. I thought that was a really cool thing. And to this day, it's still a unique take on a superhero. Now here's the black and white first issue of Spectacular Spider-Man. The second issue, they put colors in it. And there's the return of the original Vulture fighting the new Vulture. Stereo shows up, but here, let me show you. Here's the second issue of the magazine, the Spectacular Spider-Man. And they made it into full color. And then this omnibus ends with annual number 5, which is the secret of Peter Parker's mom and dad. And it ties into supervillains, so I will let you read it if you've never read it to find out how exactly they tie in and why he feels betrayed at first. Now, as far as the extras in the back, same as the original printing. And we also did want to show off some of these things back here, though. This is Spidey as we know him, but alternate timelines Peter Parker. What he would look like if he was published by other publishers. And then we have some Not Brand Ek back here. Just material from 2 issues. Now, as far as the extras, this is pretty interesting because the extras are identical to the extras in the original omnibus. However, they're in a different order, and I'll be looking at that here in a second. But you get original art pages, which is freaking amazing. You also get covers to Marvel Tales right here, which are reprinting classic stories of Spider-Man. And then you get the trade paperback Marvel Masterworks covers, which were done by Steve Ditko and painted by Dean White. And I say Steve Ditko, but then John Romita did some too. And in case you don't have the standard edition cover, here it is in the back. Now let's do a comparison. Well, actually no, let's look at the binding here first. So here it is. This one is printed at the R. Donnelly printer, and here's the eye. It is sewn binding. Didn't really have any issues with it. My original printing up at the top and the new printing at the bottom. You can tell the differences in the eye. And also because I think I must have read this one 4 or 5 times. It's one of my favorite omnis I go back to all the time. It's got some of my favorite Spider-Man stories. This one I just literally opened up and properly did the omnibus opening like I normally do all my new books. And the only other difference is that this has a little thicker paper than the new printing. This one has thinner paper than the original printing, and that's why it looks slimmer when I was showing off the spines. Let's look at the artwork and comparison in the binding as far as gutters. We have the original printing up at the top and the new printing down here at the bottom. As far as the color, I really don't see any differences at all. As far as the way that they're laying down, this one seems to be wanting to shut a little more than the new printing. The new printing is actually laying flat against the table, whereas the board on here is up a little bit, if you can tell from this angle. Same border around the covers. The letter pages are all collected in here. Same page count as the original one, 992 pages. Just wanted to showcase another page from here. Here is an example of what the spreads look like and what the spreads looked like back then. They're literally separated by frames in the original artwork. So there aren't really much spreads back then, which is a 2-page splash pages. But this is the differences here. And maybe here you can tell there's a little bit of gutter loss. Not that it affects the artwork at all, because like I said, they're separated by frames on 2 different pages. And I did want to showcase what the black and white artwork looks like between these 2 Omnis to see if one stands out above the other. The only differences here is that the paper on this is just a little bit darker than this paper here. I don't know if that's because this one's the original printing and it's had its fair share of read-throughs and it's older, or it's just the paper looked like this when it originally came out. Now, as far as the extras, by the way, apologies for ruining the ending of not Brand Ek, but I didn't think anybody really minded since it's not really in continuity. But the extras, as you can tell, start off on page 961 on both Omnis. However, they are in different order. They're all in here. I just find it interesting that the extras are in different order. As I'm flipping through here, you can tell the differences. And at least it's not the story pages that are in different order. By the way, I forgot to mention that the original printing was retailed at $99.99, and the new printing is $125. I love the alternate takes on Spider-Man. This was unused, and it was all penciled by Larry Lieber. Even this is in different order. Like, you have the covers, the original art, before the house ads in this version here, and here you have the house ads first. And this is pretty much the original pitch and original sketch for Mary Jane and what she was supposed to look like, and her perm. She did get her hair did for this volume. And as you can tell, here are the Marvel tales, and here are the Marvel Masterworks. So in this one, it ends with the Spider-Man Omnibus cover, the standard edition cover, and in this original printing, it ends with the trade paperback cover to volume 7. But I mean, everything else is in there, it's just in different order, but that, as they say, is that. Now, when this book comes out, don't forget to check out our sponsor, CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online source for collected editions up to 50% off retail price. Cheap Graphic Novels prides itself on excellent packaging, so your stuff gets to you in excellent condition, and they have amazing customer service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And for all you Minties that are watching, if you're a first-time customer, don't forget to mention that Near Mint Condition sent you their way for a promotional credit on free shipping on your next order. Now, this is only for U.S. customers. CheapGraphicNovels.com, your source for the hottest books with deep discounts, customer service, and excellent shipping that will keep you coming back for more. And that was the page count, the build, and the content of this omnibus, and of course the comparison to the original printing of the Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 2. Let me know in those comments down below if you're picking it up, which cover you're going to get. If you already own it and you're thinking about upgrading, I'd love to know all those comments down below. Please don't forget to hit that like, subscribe button. We can be found on Redbubble and on Patreon. Amazing ways to support the channel, and thank you to our existing patrons. And more importantly, please everybody, stay healthy, stay safe, and much love to all of you.